What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Den of Geek studio. I am Mike Cicchini, and I am joined by the host of Roddenberry Entertainment's upcoming amazing podcast, Does It Fly? Mr. Hakeem Oluseyi.
Yes.
And Tamara Krinsky. So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Does It Fly and what makes you two the perfect hosts for a podcast that is going to dive into everybody's most burning questions about their favorite pop culture concepts.
So this is Does It Fly? And it's from Roddenberry because allegedly Gene Roddenberry, when new technologies were being introduced into the Star Trek Enterprise, he would ask the question, does it fly? And what did that mean?
Well, what that meant was that he really wanted, it looked cool and stuff, but he wanted it to really be believable that it would work, even if it was technology that hadn't been invented yet, because then you could get really invested in the show. It does really what I think every good sci-fi or fantasy piece does, which is you put the what if out there, and then it sets up the rules of the world, and then you go with it. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about.
Yes, absolutely. For different science fiction enterprises, different technologies, different worlds. Yeah.
And you're going to be taking it from the science perspective.
Well, I'm the mad scientist. Not angry mad, just, you'll see my personality.
He a little wacky.
Yeah, a little wacky. But I am, I call myself a science mercenary. My PhD is in physics. Your audience might know the technology that I developed with my team. I was junior, I wasn't the leader. When you see these pictures of the sun with all the plasma loops, right? Went from there to Silicon Valley. So my patents are in your electronics. Then I started doing cosmology and I'm just all over the place. Right now I'm studying the heliosphere.
I'm really happy that Hakeem is using his talents for good and not evil. Otherwise, we might be in trouble.
Not anymore.
You're not supposed to talk about that. That's your private self. We're going to keep that locked in the box.
All right.
Okay.
Now, Tamara, from what I understand, you are the evil half of this equation, correct? You're the one steering Hakeem to do...
I can neither confirm or deny.
Listen, black leather jacket, red hair, come on.
No,
You're definitely dressed to kick ass, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I'm a big fan of superheroes. So
Yes.
I actually grew up kind of obsessed with science, blowing stuff up in my kitchen. And my parents were like, you want to light a Bunsen burner? Sure, do your thing. You want us to wake you up at 2 a.m. to watch an eclipse? Totally.
Nice. But when I was a kid, I had a chemistry set with a Bunsen burner. You can't get them now.
No, they don't make them anymore. They're too dangerous.
Yeah.
Science can be dangerous.
Science can be dangerous, and that is so sweet. I love
See,
it.
I think he's the one we have to worry about.
Seriously, I took my students to observe a total solar eclipse once on this small island in the South Pacific called Mangaya.
I want to go on that field trip.
You do? We almost died 3 times.
Maybe
literally.
I don't want to go on that field trip.
Yeah.
Well, I ultimately decided that being on stage was a lot more fun than being in the lab. I did not have the patience to do the kind of things that you do.
Yes.
So I went on, got a theater degree, started hosting, and have always been sort of obsessed with film and TV and pop culture. So that's the side of this that I come from.
Then we discovered each other.
Until we go.
So, let me just make sure I get this straight. We have a scientist who's obsessed with pop culture, and we have a pop culture expert who is also kind of obsessed with science.
That's right. Yeah. Luckily, they didn't tell me when I was a girl that girls weren't supposed to like sci-fi.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear any of that. Yeah, that's nonsense.
Thank you. So I do a lot of work with Marvel. I'm their red carpet host, and I actually got my SAG card. Go SAG. I got my SAG card on Star Trek First Contact. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
Teeny tiny little part, but forever thankful to Jonathan Frakes for that.
So when the two of you are having conversations about topics, okay, when you are deciding on what is going to go into an episode of Does It Fly, or when you're just talking about your latest pop culture obsession, how do you two approach deciding whether something flies or not?
Well, we evaluated separately and together. Right. So I look at the scientific possibility, the technical feasibility, and also not just whether it can work or can't work, but really, give a report on what's the latest research being done today that could lead to that, right? Because a lot of the things that are sci-fi today may be actual technology tomorrow.
That's right. And one of the things that I really love about what Hakeem brings to this is, so like, I'll give an example. We had a conversation about the flashy thing from Men in Black, right? That makes you forget your memory. And when we were talking about it, it wasn't just like, does this device work or not? What Hakeem went into was, okay, well, they're using it in a way that it's a visual thing. It's a flash of light that makes you forget. So he talked about the science of memory a bit. He talked about how vision works. And then that spiraled into, well, what's happening today? So I love that you kind of expand out and we get to talk about all that stuff.
I also like there is a little bit of, a fun synchronicity with Roddenberry Entertainment in the notion that so much of the science fiction of Star Trek in the 60s and 70s and 80s has become the science fact of today, has become the technology that we just carry around in our pockets.
Well, and it's also really inspired scientists of today. So I host a show for Discovery Channel called Tomorrow's World Today, where we travel around to R&D labs and look at sustainability and how different companies are using new technology for that. And I cannot tell you how many folks I've spoke to who said, I watched Star Trek growing up, and the things I saw on that inspired me to go into technology. One of the things I wanted to say that I'm excited about with this podcast is that, the two of us are experts in our own fields, but we don't know everything. And I certainly would never.
For yourself. What the?
Oh, I am. I would never profess to know everything about pop culture. I mean, these worlds are so huge, which is what makes them so amazing. So I'm really looking forward to the two of us kicking off conversations about these various conceits and worlds, but then the audience stepping in and continuing that conversation.
Thank you both very much. We look forward to Does It Fly, which will be available on all podcast platforms and much, much more. And we'll be talking about more of that soon, too.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and Does It Fly? Flies.
For sure.